Hi, and welcome back to McMow Art Glass. So we're continuing to work on this fabulous floral design. Today, we've gotten to the point where we are doing a little bit of tack soldering that we're going to show you as Hector is continuing to build this. So I'm going to point a couple of things out. So about soldering specifically, and about the kind of channels that we've used. So if you look closely, you'll see that most of the channels in here are very thin. Typically, the stained glass pieces are 1/8 of an inch thick, and the channels are extruded by the companies to fit that 1/8 inch. So it goes right into the channel and bends around it, as you saw in the last video that Hector was doing. Well, some of the glass that comes to us that's imported, because it's mouth blown and you don't have the consistency of a roll, because mouth blown glass is blown into a cylinder, scored and opened. There's thick and thin, which really is part of what makes it so beautiful, because the thicker the glass is more dense color, even though it's cathedral. So this is a really good example to show you. That is a thick piece of glass next to a typical piece of glass, typical, thick. So because we're using such thin, delicate lead caming, because this is really a beautiful, delicate design, we had to adjust some of the lead that we were using, and this is the typical size of the leads, and this is called high heart. So you can, I think you should be able to see that this is much wider. So now to give you a better idea visually, that is a thicker piece. Some of these in here are thicker pieces. So there seems to be a space between the lead and the glass, and that's because what's around it is the high heart, because we had to use that in order for the glass to fit inside. That space will be consumed, and you'll see in the next video when we bring it to the mud room and we are cementing this, and that process will fill in those gaps. So in the meantime, Hector has been using a paste flux, which most hobbyists prefer to use a water soluble. Let me show you what that is. A water-soluble liquid flux, which is what this is here. And this wipes off pretty easily with paper towels and some kind of a window cleaner. Look at your window cleaner and make sure it doesn't have ammonia in it. I don't want to say the names of any of the products out there that do, but that's not really good for your glass or for your lead came. So let's go back over here. So this is this is what's been being used for, I would say, a couple hundred years. It's an acidic, it cleans. Your hands have gotten oils all over the lead came. Your glass has oil from, remember we talked earlier in a different video about the glass, I'm sorry. The glass is being cut with an oil-filled cutter. Well, that oil's on the glass. So we've got all these things that are going to fight the solder. So he will show you this, but he will apply some of the flux to the area that's being soldered. Now note, every joint is going to have a solder to it. So some of these pieces he's already soldered just to hold them in place as he's continuing to build, because this is so intricate. This is the soldering iron he's using. It is plugged into a 110 plug. It's going to be, and it feels like it is right now, about 450 degrees. He's wet a sponge that's under and you can see the smoke coming out because the sponge is wet and it's cooling the iron down, which is a little problematic. You have to give it a minute to get back up to 450, but you need to be able to clean your soldering iron tip regularly to keep it clean from the debris that you're now going to be getting from the flux floating to the top. So I'm going to hand the iron over to Hector and let him show you a couple of areas that he's going to solder. And I want you to understand, when he's done, I'm going to show you just how easy it is to accidentally melt your lead cane, because it is has a melting temperature that is lower than the solder. The solder is 60-40, which means it's 60% tin and 40% lead. That's a really great combination. It costs a little bit more than 50-50, but the tin level being higher makes the melting temperature lower, which is better for working with lead cane, which is, our studio is predominantly a lead cane studio. We use copper foil, which we're going to talk about at some point as well, especially when we're doing repairs that have come in that already are a copper foil window, or when we're doing a lamp that has to be done in copper foil work and then soldered over top of it. So we're watching this example of the joints being soldered, and when he's done soldering, notice that it looks very liquid and silvery. It's very hot. It's very easy as a if you're an amateur to accidentally think it's so beautiful. It looks like something I could touch, and then you burn your fingers. And everybody in this industry has burned their fingers and a few other things more than once. So let me show you, if I put a little bit of flux
real quick
on just a piece of lead cane.
Shanon.
I'm gonna let you hold this, and he'll show you. It doesn't melt like solder melts. It's never going to be able to be used to solder something together, but it does melt, and it melts pretty vigorously, and it is unpredictable, so you really have to get a good feel for it. Now keep in mind, we talked about the high heart. The high heart's going to melt at a little bit different temperature. It's a little more hardy, so he really has to pay attention to what he's doing. And honestly, after a while, these professionals that are in this industry, they just know. You look at it long enough, you know what it's going to do, and they just get a certain feel for it, because that's what a professional does. We'll be back again. Thank you.